there, and welcome to the Transparently Jordan podcast, where I'll be talking with a new guest each week, and we'll be covering topics in health, fitness, lifestyle, and so much more. So stick around and let's get into today's episode.
This is Radiant Voices Media.
Hey everyone, I want to tell you about a brand called Ree, the sunglasses made by runners for runners. Born in Sydney, Ree was built with one goal in mind: to create sunnies that actually keep up with you. Whether you're hitting a sunrise tempo session or grinding through a weekend-long run, Ree delivers crystal clear lens tech, lightweight frames, and durability that doesn't quit, no matter how many times you sweat through them or stuff them in your bag. They offer a range of lens shades and technology to suit all conditions, from bright road races to shaded trails. There's no slipping, no bouncing, just solid performance and style. So if you're tired of sunglasses that can't go the distance, it's time to rethink your eyewear. Check them out at reyourrun.com.au and use code Jordan10 for a little something off your first pair. That's code Jordan10 to save yourself 10% off your first pair.
I don't have the biggest following in the world, but I do have people that are watching who are genuinely interested how I'm going. So for me, that's a motivating factor as well to go, you know what, they're waiting for me to post, or they're waiting to see the progression or the results of a certain race or anything like that. So definitely those aspects as well. I have put it out there to, by no means am I an elite athlete, an elite runner. There's thousands, maybe millions of runners who are better than me, but I think there's a lot of people and everyday recreational athletes that might look at my journey and take motivation out of that, going, you know what, if you do put your head down and really stick to it, you can achieve anything.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to today's episode. I don't have much life updates to talk to you all about. My last big life update was turning 30, and we've already gone through a big episode of that, so let's maybe stay clear. I don't want to sound like a broken record. So maybe let's just get into today's episode because, why not? Today, I am chatting with Alex Gillett. Alex is a runner. He is a business owner, and he is documenting his journey to run sub 3 hours at the Gold Coast Marathon. So I'm quite excited about this episode because, being a runner myself, we got to talk about running. We got to talk about Alex's journey up until this point, what his plan is, his coaching, what his business is and his business journey, him just starting from scratch and him packing up, moving to the Gold Coast. We talk about a lot. So let's get into today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Like always, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please hit that 5-star review button. It only takes 10 seconds. Spotify, you can now do that as well. So if you are listening through Spotify, please hit that 5-star review button. It helps out podcasts, any podcast that you're listening to. It really helps them out. So thank you all for doing that. Let's get into today's episode. Thanks for coming on. I always appreciate people taking, their time, especially the weekend, coming out and spending an hour or so with me. So Alex, maybe if you don't mind, just let us know who you are and give us a little bit of a brief history of you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Alex, I'm 28, Adelaide local, born and raised, and I'm on here today mainly revolving around the Breaking 3 project's debut marathon. Yeah. But a little bit about, I guess, my background. I went to school locally, Concordia College, graduated there, went to university, did my bachelor's exercise sports science, and then into a master's of clinical exercise physiology. Upon finishing university, I felt a little bit lost in life and not sure what exactly I wanted to do. So I did actually relocate up to Queensland and live there for 8 months, which I think was a really big move for me, and I think definitely shaped me into who I am today. Going up there, knowing no one and getting away from your hometown, I think definitely a lot of character building and was probably the best thing that happened to me. So after that, figured out my passion was really in content creation and photography. So upon moving back, launched my own business, and yeah, that's going really, really well and absolutely loving it. Being able to do what you love every day is pretty cool. And yeah, specialize in real estate photography, videography, as well as projects, display homes, and also on the side do a few events. So me and a few mates shoot a few weddings and that kind of thing as well, which is nice to change things up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yeah. It's I appreciate that travel thing, like leaving hometown. I think travel is quite an important thing for a lot of people, and you, like you were saying, you kind of find yourself and you kind of learn certain skills, I guess, starting from scratch, really. So that's quite cool, I think. Where in Queensland did you migrate to?
So I was living on the Gold Coast.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was in Miami there, which was cool because it's quite central from Burleigh and surfers. So you
Yeah.
get not quite in the hustle and bustle, but
Yeah.
you still get plenty of action there.
Yeah. So what was it like for you, leaving Adelaide, leaving your hometown, starting from scratch, meeting new people and things like that? You were there for 8 months. What was it like for you, I guess, the minute that you arrived versus like 8 months later? How did that journey kind of evolve?
Definitely. I think particularly the first month or so you were quite alone, you're quite isolated. So I have travelled before solo. So I think I was maybe a little bit more well equipped than some may be in that aspect, enjoying your own company and that kind of thing, particularly as you're away from your support network. The beautiful thing about Queensland, I think, because the sun's shining most of the year, is there's a big emphasis on health and fitness, that lifestyle. So for me, it was great because I was right into my gym and also running. So I was able to meet a lot of people through that. And straight off the bat, you have something in common. So joined a few run clubs, as well as that, just the local gym. And also I was training at Body Fit up there as well, and was able to meet like-minded people. And from there, you kind of evolve with relationships, and then suddenly you make one friend and they introduce you to others, and it's a little bit of a flow-on effect. So, yeah.
How did you like Miami, where you were? Because I'm going to be moving to the Gold Coast in the next year or so. So I'm always interested where people like around there.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Yeah.
Everyone's very laid back.
Yeah.
It's awesome weather.
Yeah.
And I think particularly in that Miami area, like you get a bit of peace and quiet, but then you've got shops and those kind of things close.
Yeah.
So it's that good balance.
Yeah.
Whereas I think sometimes your hot spots like Burleigh, for example, particularly if you're right near the action, there's not really a quiet time. Holidays, school holidays, big events. So I think there's definitely pros and cons to some of the areas.
Yeah. Oh, sweet. So, you said that you fell in love with content creation and being creative and, photography and whatnot. So how did that kind of come to be? How did you realize that that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was working retail job here around
Okay.
university. So I was actually working in a running footwear shop.
Okay.
Hence, that's probably where my love of running shoes come from. But yeah, I was doing photography on the side, part-time.
Yeah.
So initially started with events back in the day. So in school, shooting 18ths, these kind of things.
Yeah.
Then that fell into real estate through a company there, working part-time. And then upon finishing university, when I did move up to Queensland, I was working for an agency up there, which again specialised in real estate and projects. So I was working there full time. And then I think the longer I was doing that and wasn't necessarily using my degree, I felt more natural for me, more enjoyable. And also in the allied health field, there's some things that are very by the book, which is obviously they have to be because you're dealing with people's health and safety. Whereas in the content creation aspect, you're able to, get creative with it, and kind of there's no right or wrong. So I've definitely found that very enjoyable about it.
Yeah. Cool. So what gets you creative? Because I think, to be in that space, to be a photographer and to, have other people's ideas kind of, come to light as well. How do you stay creative, and how do you, go into a job and I guess create?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the hard thing is you do certainly have some days where your brain's not firing as you'd like. But I think the beautiful thing about photography, videography is there's so many amazing creators in the world. You're able to take inspiration from others. You're able to put your own flair on things. And as I said, there's no right or wrong. So sometimes I'm very big on, I'll always try something new when I can't have the opportunity to at shoots. Sometimes clients may love it, or you might not get the best feedback in the world, but it's good because I think that's how you grow as a creative as well. You're able to try new things, try adapt. And as we know, with a lot of industries, they're ever changing. So you've got to kind of keep moving.
Stay up to date with it all.
That's it, yeah.
What are some changes that you've had to really, or what are some changes, I guess, that you've struggled to stay up with that you're like, I have to do this now? Is there anything like in the present that you didn't have to do when you first started?
Don't think there's necessarily anything I'm struggling to keep up with in a sense, but I think the evolution of video content has been massive. Especially with short form, Instagram, TikTok, that's come a really, really long way, particularly in the real estate niche where everything was back in the day, photos, floor plan, very basic marketing. Now it's all about how many eyes can we get this in front of and what is the most attractive form of that. More often than not, it'll be video and try making them really engaging. So I think that's probably been the biggest shift that I've noticed in the last probably 5 years.
Yeah, that probably comes from anything like podcasting alone. When I started in 2020, all of this video stuff didn't exist back then.
Yeah.
So I think it's just where the world is going to, really.
Absolutely.
That's kind of cool. But let's get into maybe the Sub3 project. So when did this all start, and when did the project and when did this goal of you doing the Gold Coast Marathon start?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will go back a little bit.
Yeah.
I was playing football. We'll go back probably before that as well. I was actually running track and field when I was younger. So my events were 800, 1500. So I absolutely loved athletics. And it got to the stage where that was getting more serious and football was getting more serious. So I kind of had to make a decision because football pre-season was during athletics season. So you couldn't really do both. So I made the decision to go with football, and years and years later, I had a few injuries. Upon moving up to Queensland as well, I stopped playing there, and after coming back, just felt like I'd fallen out of love with the game a bit. So made the decision to just do my own sort of training. So mix of strength training and then running, and that's when I really, really fell back in love with running, and it definitely changed my life because it was an outlet for me, gave me a lot of mental clarity and just something that I really, really loved. And it was the highlight of my day every day. So after that, I signed up shortly after getting back into it. I signed up for my first half marathon, ran that, and the energy of that whole day was just so contagious. It was amazing. Like just having people training, working hard towards a goal, and everyone coming together on that day, celebrating, even people you didn't even know when you're crossing the finish line, high fives. And that, I think after that, that really made me go, all right, this is awesome. I want more of this. Did another half marathon up in Queensland. That was a little bit less of a high because I didn't run the race I wanted to, but it was a good learning curve going, okay, not every run, not every race is going to be amazing. But after that, it had me wanting more again, and I looked forward and thought, why don't we get a marathon done? I never really thought, even now it still scares me, the thought of doing it. But I think definitely after the move up and living in Queensland, where I really challenged myself and kind of threw myself in the deep end, I thought this was another great opportunity to grow and build that mental toughness and discipline. So
sweet. I think it like just training for a marathon alone is quite impressive, right? So like to say that you're doing one and to I guess, consistently be consistent for their training, I think is impressive alone. And I think a lot of people can be quite impressed from that. But when you first started training for, let's say, the half or for, athletics or whatnot, how did you evolve? Like, how did you, I guess, did you follow a plan? Did you follow coaching, or how did you evolve over the years to where you are now?
Yeah, so through the half marathon training, I was using the Runner app.
Yeah.
So I get a little plug here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was great. Pretty self-guided. Yeah. You're able to plug in, when you want to run, how often, all of these kind of things. And I thought that was a really great starting point for me. Seemed to work well. Coming into this marathon prep, I thought I needed a little bit more individualized, tailored programming and feedback. I think the biggest thing was, if I had any niggles popping up or felt a little bit iffy, I would have someone to be able to bounce off and go, okay, let's adjust this, let's do this. And obviously having a coach, they're an expert in the field, so they can make, those judgment calls and work from experience that they've had in the past.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, I think that's quite important because it's... You're basically doing, like, of course, double of what you did the half marathon. So to have a coach, like, I appreciate that, because even me, when I remember thinking back to my first marathon, I just followed, like, one of those plans that you can follow, like, online. And that marathon was the worst thing that I've ever done in my life. Like, thinking back to it, I had to, like, walk, my hamstring cramps, like, it was hell, really. And then having a coach the next year for the next one, it was like instant improvement. So I appreciate that, really. Training for this marathon, what have been some highlights up to this point, and what have been some I guess lows, really, for you?
Yeah, I think running definitely is my personality at the moment.
Yeah, okay.
Consumes a lot of my time, and for me, being so busy with work, it's, as I said before, kind of my outlet.
Yeah.
Training, I love it. It allows me to switch off and just get away from all the noise. So I think the positives have been just being able to do more of what I love. Yeah. And really, I guess, see it from a different light. I think as well, now that the build is starting to increase quite a bit, you definitely see it from a different perspective and get a lot of appreciation for these people that do it at the elite level and these kind of things. So definitely a different outlook. Yeah. The negatives are when you do have these niggles pop up or you're not able to train, given you take so much enjoyment from doing so, it can leave you quite flat and deflated. And I have had moments where early on we tried to go 2 sessions a week, 6 days of training, which for me, you're flying for the first couple of weeks and then sure enough your body catches up and had an Achilles flare up and was really deflated and thought, oh God, here we go again. And it was quite in a negative state of mind. Yeah. And then we're back on track. Yeah. We're doing things which I guess suiting me a little bit better. And I think that's a big thing you learn is not everyone responds the same to training. Everyone's different. Some things work for others, some don't for some. So yeah.
Where's your headspace usually? Because I think it's like you were saying, it can be quite deflating if you have a niggle. You can go through highs sometimes with your training plan and go through lows. But what makes you wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm gonna go for my run, or I'm gonna do it today? Where's your mental state at usually, do you think?
In regards to like motivation?
Yeah.
I think I've definitely made it like a habit now. Okay. So for me, I'm a morning trainer. Okay. I like getting it done because I know that regardless of how draining that day may be, I've already got it done. Yeah. So it's okay. Yeah. Whereas I've had a few moments where in the past I've tried to train after work or try to train after, working out in the sun on a hot day and you're just exhausted and it's very easy to go, you know what, I might give this one a miss. But I think for me, training early, getting it done, that's definitely been a really big help for me.
That's an important thing, and I think it's what works for you, right? Like some people hate waking up in the morning and training, and that's fine. I think if that's you and you have the motivation to do after work, all to you. But I'm the same. I quite like just getting it done in the morning and not having to worry about it. When you are, I guess, training and you're having, let's say, a bad session, what pushes you through?
Yeah, that's a good one. And that's something I've learned along the way. I had one probably 2 weeks ago on a Friday. I had a few things on, had to run at 2 p.m., I think it was. Peak heat of the day, 37 degrees. And it was just a shocker. And I thought, you know what? Not every run's going to be amazing. Not every run you're going to feel great. Not every run you're going to be at your best. So for me, I definitely took a step back and you look at it from the bigger picture and go, look, this is a six-month build. It's all these little wins stacked up that result in that bigger win. So if I have one day that I easily could have thrown in the towel or completely skipped the session, I think the fact that I even rocked up and did what I could is a win in itself. So kind of flipping the perspective a little bit and understanding you can't be great all the time.
Yeah.
But if you're consistently good,
Yeah.
then that'll get you the result.
Yeah, absolutely. What made you want to start this project? Like, creating your journey and documenting your journey. What made you want to start that, and kind of how did that come to be?
Yeah, it's a great question. So late last year, I put it on myself. I said, yep, I'm going to do a marathon. Going to do Gold Coast, signed up for it. And I thought, I really want to document the journey, firstly, to keep me disciplined, because with a lot of the bigger goals I've had in my life, I've normally kept them in my smaller circle. But I think, and I'm a big believer on, if you put it out to the world, then firstly, things can work in your favor to get you there, but also you've got to get it done because you've told people you're going to do it. And I think that was a big thing for me. I've put it out to the world. I haven't just, put it to my parents and my best mate. I've put it's on social media. Anyone can see it. So firstly, it keeps me motivated and disciplined. I don't have the biggest following in the world, but I do have people that are watching who are genuinely interested how I'm going. So for me, that's a motivating factor as well to go, you know what, they're waiting for me to post, or they're waiting to see the progression or the results of a certain race or anything like that. So definitely those aspects as well. I have put it out there to, by no means am I an elite athlete, an elite runner. There's thousands, maybe millions of runners who are better than me, but I think there's a lot of people and everyday recreational athletes that might look at my journey and take motivation out of that, going, you know what, if you do put your head down and really stick to it, you can achieve anything. And for me, if you asked me years ago whether I'd even be in this position training for a marathon, I would have said you're dreaming. And I know I'm in the midst of it now and there's no backing out. But hopefully if it can inspire someone to chase their running goals or any sort of goal in life, I think, that'll be an added bonus for sure.
Even if it's just one person, I think that's a success, Like, I think you're definitely, probably there's a lot more than one person watching and you're inspiring. But I think, like, for people out there that want to potentially do something similar or put their goals out there, I think it's always a bit of it's a bit scary for a lot of people to put their goal out there and tell the world. But I think, like you were saying, if it's just one person that is watching or one person that you're inspiring, that's a success, I think, in my books at least. What are you, I guess, when you're running, are you a music person? Are you a podcast person? Or what kind of are you doing? Or are you nothing?
I'm nothing. Which some people think that's a bit psychotic.
I think so.
But as I said, I've always found, especially with work, I'm driving around a lot, listening to music. There's always something going on. If I'm not driving, I'm editing videos. There's always music. There's always head noise. And I think when I run it, as I said, it's my opportunity to switch off, just enjoy the feet tapping the ground and the scenery. When I'm at the gym, different story. I got the pump up music going, but for running, I found, nothing at the moment. As these long runs are going to get longer, and if I'm not always able to run with friends, I think I may need to integrate some sort of music because, these longer sessions are getting pretty long.
What do you plan for the marathon?
I reckon, again, just nothing. I think just you and your thoughts. And I think when you're in the pain cave, hopefully some cheers from the crowd and some words of encouragement can get you over the line.
Yeah. Oh, that's impressive. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's iconic, but you know, there's I think a lot of runners out there that are similar, I think. But you know, Alex, shoes are such a big thing. So what are some things what are you wearing right now, and what have you learned about shoes kind of through your journey through all of this?
Probably got far too many shoes in the wardrobe, but some of the main ones at the moment, I have the Asics Super Blast, the version 1s and 2s for the long runs, which are an amazing shoe. I'm sure there's many listeners here that would have them. As well as that, I just picked up some Nike Vomeros as an easy shoe, which they're fantastic, really soft, and when the legs are feeling a little bit sore and heavy, offer some really good cushioning. As well as that, I have a few other shoes in the mix. I got some On Cloud Stratus 3s. I got some Nike Pegasus Plus and a few other shoes that are a little bit lower stack, because I have seen some research around that shows that if you are wearing max stack shoes all the time, the body, the forces are absorbed differently in the body. So if you are to wear these max stack shoes for every run, you might potentially be loading up your knees or hips a little bit more. Whereas if you are chopping and changing, as you'd know, it's good to get a little bit of a mix in, so different areas are absorbing impact throughout the week.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's quite important, because I think there are probably a lot of people listening to this that might be newer runners or even veterans that wear one or two pairs of shoes, and it's, you know, a lot of the times just for comfort, which yes, you do want the shoes to be comfortable, but like you were saying, is they do load certain muscles and certain joints a little bit more and less, and shoes have evolved so much over the last even 3 years, really. There's new technologies coming out, stiffness, and even all of the plates. There's more trainers that are having carbon added to them, which is quite interesting to me. But I appreciate that, because again, like you get different loads through different parts of the muscles, and if you add like a carbon plate, or I think New Balance has a TRP or something, a different type of plate as well, and it all makes a difference, I think, on strain in the body, really. Yeah
Definitely. And I think as well with that, using carbon shoes are good if you are using them for your speed work and getting the body used to them for races. But as you said, you got to be careful with how you are training, and also a little bit of trial and error to see what works for you. And if there are any listeners out there unsure, I think I would suggest going to some professionals to seek help with footwear, and also trying shoes on and running in them on the treadmills or anything like that before you purchase, because I know early on I very much just went off looks, and that isn't everything.
Yeah. Are there any places that you've gone to that you found really helpful, let's say for your footwear?
Run DNA are great.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there you can actually try them on, get on the treadmill, and the staff there are extremely knowledgeable. As well as that, the Athlete's Foot are pretty good as well. Yeah. They got their gait analysis, which I think's good, but as I said, I think it's important to try them on and actually move around in them and see how they fit, because that's the most important.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I like about Run DNA, everybody, is you can actually do I don't know if they've changed the actual name of it, but you can do like a Run DNA assessment. So they'll put you through the Run Scribe. So a little thing attaches to your feet. I don't know if you've done that. A little thing that attaches to your shoe, and it just kind of scans and see how's your landing and whatnot. And the workers there are quite knowledgeable in picking different types of shoes with that assessment. So I definitely recommend, if you're in Adelaide, Run DNA for that alone, really. Yeah. What are you focusing on? I know you mentioned a few things a bit in the past. You mentioned like your strength training and things like that, but what are you doing for that injury prevention side of things? How is that structured?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I'm at the moment doing lower twice a week. Okay. So that strength training is really, really important for me, and focusing on those key stabilization areas, hammies, glutes, calves, these kind of things. Around that, I think nutrition and sleep has probably been the biggest one. I think particularly rest. When you've got the rest days, really utilizing them, even if it's not completely doing nothing, but a little bit of gentle movement and stretching, foam rolling. I think all of these really small things, once you add up all the benefits for each little thing, it does make a big difference. I think particularly with rest, I think that's probably been the most important for me.
Do you take any days? Like let's say your body just needs the day to not do what you had planned. Do you structure it like that? Or do you try and just push through and continue?
So initially we had the 6 days, 2 sessions.
Okay.
I wasn't responding too well to the quicker stuff.
Yeah.
Within the sessions. So
Yeah.
we moved that back to 5 days a week and structured a rest day after my long run
Okay.
and then also after my midweek session. So I was just doing one session.
Yeah.
So it was essentially Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off after a session.
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the Monday off as well. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so that allowed full recovery
Yeah.
after those bigger efforts and quicker efforts.
Yeah.
We're going to be changing that moving forward again. So at the moment, I'm doing 3 sessions a fortnight. So it'll be a Tuesday, Friday session,
Yeah.
and then a Wednesday session the other week,
Okay.
which is good because I'm able to keep building overall volume,
Yeah.
but the legs get a little bit of a rest from that
Yeah.
quicker stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big thing is if something's not working for you or if you keep having repetitive injuries, you got to take a step back and go, what's actually going to work for me? Yes, I'd love to run 6 days a week,
Yeah.
but then looking at it, that 6th run was almost just really ticking the legs over, getting a few Ks in between a long run and a session. So
Yeah.
we're maybe better off removing that and focus more on recovery.
Yeah.
So
For sure. Have you always been in this mindset of wanting to do, big things or wanting to be better and do more? Because to do a marathon, I think you have to have a particular mindset, really. You have to be quite driven and have to be quite dedicated. And has that always been kind of how you are, or has it been something that you've learned over your years?
definitely something that has grown within me. I've got tunnel vision for a certain goal, which is a blessing and a curse sometimes. So I guess in a business sense, I try to get that to a level as good as I can. So I'm always striving to be better. I think personally, you've got your personal goals and these kind of things, which are the same. And then from a fitness aspect, I definitely strive to be as good as I can. So I think after football, that turned into, my general training, and I felt like I didn't really have a training goal at that stage in life because I was just keeping fit. Yeah. I was looking good, keeping fit, but it wasn't really, felt like I was lacking a bit of purpose with my training. Yeah. And I think as soon as I got more serious into the running, best thing is, you can't hide from your results. You can't hide from the events on the day. You put it all out there, and that's how good you are. Yeah. So I think for me, with this marathon goal, after completing a few half marathons, I felt like, all right, I'm going to push myself here, go for the big event, because you hear a few people saying the half marathon's not a real event in a way. So I thought, let's do the big one. Yeah. And I think looking at my times and what I've been able to achieve so far, I believe I definitely have a sub 3 in me. Yeah. Whether it's on that first attempt, who knows? Because there's a lot of learnings that come out of every race you do. Yeah. So the fact I'll be running a marathon for the first time, whether everything goes completely perfectly, I highly doubt it. Yeah. But hopefully it goes well enough that I'm able to crack that 3-hour mark. Yeah. And if not, that's why I've documented the journey, because you go again, you reset. And I think that'll be a great learning curve as well. If I'm feeling like I can do it, but if I do happen to fall short, then we go again. And I think that tests the discipline and the resilience even more. Yeah, absolutely. What do you have a plan for race day? It's a bit far, I know, but do you have a plan for how you want it to go and what you're going to do in certain scenarios? I've had a few friends run events around Australia, around the world, and I know that you've obviously got your pacing groups, but even within that, you've got to run your own race sometimes. I don't know, I had a friend last year, he ran Gold Coast, and they went through halfway a little bit slow with the pacing group. So then that got him a little bit stressed and started doubting the race procedure and everything. So I think obviously sticking with that pacing group, but then making sure I am looking at my own splits and really running my own race is very important. I think as well as that, nutrition, from what I've seen, from what I've listened to, from what I've watched, it is the biggest thing. So making sure that I'm able to fuel myself to the finish line would be huge. And there may be some professionals that I do seek some additional advice on in regards to carb loading and what exactly I should eat and how I can tailor that to foods that I enjoy and sit well in my stomach versus, all these small things. So I think they're definitely things I'll touch on closer to race day. But even now, you know, trialing a lot of different gels and these kind of things through training. Hydration, also a really big one. So just trying to control all the controllables. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. What are you testing right now? Because that was my next question. I think nutrition is such a huge part and such an important thing for race day. What have you been testing right now when it comes to, let's say, gels, or when it comes to timing of your eating? What have you been playing around with?
I was pretty guilty during the half marathon prep of running fasted in the mornings.
Yeah.
And I felt that, you know, sometimes you'd feel great from it, but if it was a really intense session or my easy runs are starting to get longer and longer and longer, that fuel from the night before, day before wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So getting breakfast in and making sure it's, you know, high GI, really good quality breakfast has been important, and as well as that fueling through sessions.
Yeah.
So incorporating gels, incorporating carb, you know, chew, bars, anything like that has been really important. And I think it's great because when you actually witness the effects firsthand, you go, okay, I see how important this is. I feel great. I've dialed in my nutrition and feel amazing, versus those days where that session I bunked out the other Friday, it was definitely a hydration thing because I was away from home, didn't have any bottles, no fountains near me, probably low on electrolytes. And sure enough, you see the aftermath. So definitely trialing and training and witnessing the differences firsthand has been massive.
Sweet. If, Alex, you could write a personal biography, let's say, you know, a 5-minute biography, what are some goals or some highlights over, you know, your journey up to this point that you've achieved that you're quite proud of?
I moved back from Queensland and launched my photography business and took that from scratch to where it is today, which has been a massive goal and a massive achievement. And I think there's a lot of people that want to do great things, but they're scared to take the leap. And I think sometimes you've just got to do it. You've got to go all in. Originally, I was thinking of doing a couple of days work part-time and then trying to grow a business around that. And then my old man actually said to me, he said, mate, just what do you got to lose? Just go all in. And I did, and it's paid off. And I think that's probably one of the biggest achievements and proud moments for me. Obviously, there's still a lot of work you got to do to keep it going, but that was definitely a proud moment. I think as well as that, graduating university, yes, I'm not using my degree right now, but I think just the discipline of grinding that out, particularly around work, was a big achievement. As well as that, I did purchase my first home end of last year.
Okay, congrats.
So thank you. So that was exciting, and a place you're able to, you know, really call home and make the space your own is pretty cool. So I'd probably say those couple things, which have all occurred relatively quickly, one after the other, funnily enough.
Sweet. But I think it takes, you know, it takes a trek sometimes to get to those goals, and sometimes it just all happens at once, which is quite cool. What was it like? Like, I know you were saying that you went all in and you just started, you know, your business, but what was it like those early days for you? Because I think it can be quite stressful. You're not knowing what direction to take or where to go and this and that. So where did you go for advice, and how did you kind of get things started?
My parents have had a few of their own businesses, so I definitely went for them for a lot of guidance and support, and they were a great help. I also think the internet and the resources we have around us are our best friends. You know, if there's something you're unsure about or you need guidance on, you can find it online. I think it's an amazing tool. I watched a lot of YouTube, listened to a lot of podcasts on business and these kind of things. And I think also just going out there and doing is also another big one. Just taking action and learning along the way. And there's a saying I like, pressure makes diamonds. I think that's a really good quote to live by, because sometimes if you just throw yourself in the deep end, you'll find a way.
Yeah. What are some highlights, like some jobs or some things that you've done thus far that you're like, oh, I'm super proud of that, or this is what I wanted to do and I got it? Is there any highlights that you've done thus far?
I think when you work on a really big project that might be on the front page of the advertiser or something like that, and you kind of see your work, that's a pretty cool feeling. I think just seeing the improvement from my own work as well, from early days to now, and just seeing how far you've come. I think that's also really, really rewarding. I think sometimes we get caught up in, or not necessarily taking the time to appreciate how far we've come, whether that be in a running sense, work sense, anything like that. I think sometimes if you actually sit still and go, okay, this is where I was, you'll be amazed at where you actually are. So I think just the improvement in my own skill and ability, as well as, yeah, as I said, seeing some of your projects on social media and around the internet's pretty cool.
Yeah, sweet. Is there anything that you do? Of course, running is probably one of the things, but is there anything that you do just for you, like to get away from it all, get away from stress? How do you manage all of that?
Well, yeah, you've touched on it well, saying running,
Yeah.
'cause that's probably the big one. I
Yeah,
think, yeah,
sweet.
running and training, that's definitely my outlet and my chance to wind down. As well as that, I think just spending quality time with family and friends. That's something I'm trying to do a lot more of, particularly over weekends. I think we all get caught in our busy lifestyles, but sometimes it's nice to just slow down and reach out to a friend or family member and catch up and make that effort. Because it is, I think, particularly when you're busy and sometimes a bit exhausted, it's very easy to just sit on the couch and watch Netflix. Whereas sometimes making that little bit of extra effort and you know, using a little bit more energy, you'll feel amazing after it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Sweet. So when like you gave a good kind of tip, sometimes you just got to go for it. But to those people that might be a bit hesitant, do you have any advice for people that want to start something, want to start a business or do something similar, let's say, to what you did, that just don't want to go all in? Is there any advice that you have to those people?
yeah, absolutely. I think as well, I must touch on that. Not everyone's in the same situation. You know, people have, at the time, I didn't have a mortgage or any crazy payments that I had to be making. So I was probably in a position where it was a little bit less risk. There are people out there where they may have family, you know, a young family, something like that, and it's obviously a lot more difficult. But I would say make educated decisions, and if you're really unsure about anything, seek advice from those that have either done it and walked that path before or are experts in that field. I think having a mentor or something around those lines is massive because you're able to learn a lot, and often things that they've been through you will probably experience in the near future. Particularly with the business, I had a mentor, and every single checkpoint that I had and every little hiccup they had already experienced before, so they had that advice and were able to talk me through it, and then also kind of future-proof my business a little bit as well, going, you may have this issue down the track or you may have this challenge. So I think from a business sense, a mentor is great. It is a little bit of a tough one, as I said, everyone's in different situations, but I think educated decision and maybe sometimes having some sort of safety net can be a good thing.
How do you deal with challenges? Because I think how you deal with challenges, let's say in your business or with marathon training, it can be quite similar. So in general, how do you deal with challenges? Are you the type that, is very stressed or anxious, or do you try and take it step at a time? How do you kind of migrate what challenges might come up?
Absolutely, yeah. I think I've adapted a lot and changed my perspectives and ways over the years. I think early on I was a very anxious, worried person if there was an issue that arose or a challenge that I faced. Now I'm a little bit different I've kind of flipped the script a little bit, and if there is a negative or a challenge that presents itself, I try to look at it in a different perspective and say, what is a positive that has still come out of this challenge or negative? So whether it be from a running sense, last year when I was injured and I missed about 9 weeks, I thought, I was down in the dumps, but then I flipped the script and went, well, this is a chance for me to work on other areas, strengthen other areas, train in a different way for a little bit, and then go back to running when I'm ready. So kind of taking the negative and turning it around into a positive.
Yeah, perspective is everything. Like
100%.
I think that's a great way to look at it, because you can dwell on the past and you can dwell on these failures, but I think if you change that perspective, you can grow from it. So I appreciate that. What do you do with goal setting? So, you have this goal of the marathon, and it seems like through your business you have goals, but are you somebody that likes to plan, years out in the future, or do you try and take it, months at a time, or how do you try and goal set when it comes to what you want to do in life?
Yeah, good question. I think from a goal perspective, at the start of every year, I'll have goals for every aspect of my life. So whether it be business, financial, fitness, personal, might be travel goals, might be relationship goals. And I kind of structure goals around there of how I would like this year to look, or the near future. And some of those goals you might achieve really quickly. Some might take a little bit longer. Some you might not get to, but you've maybe set them a little bit. I guess you've stretched those goals a little bit, that if you were to hit them, it would have been pretty crazy. But even if you didn't quite get there, it's still an amazing achievement in itself. I tend to go year by year. I don't like looking too far into the future, just because sometimes you can get a little bit anxious about those things. But I definitely think it's good to have goals you're working on right now and that sense of purpose that comes with that. Because I've found that those times where I haven't had a goal or haven't had something that I'm striving towards, sometimes you can feel a little bit lost.
Yeah. So do you have anything planned or anything that you'd like after Gold Coast? Is there anything that you're working on when it comes to running or another event?
People always say as soon as you've finished an event, you should sign up for another. I think Gold Coast result dependent will probably tell a lot. If I'm not to achieve my goal time, then I'll look to restructure my program, get into another race and have another crack at it. If I do achieve it, then I think you just keep raising the bar and see how far you can push the limits and how far your body can go. It would be nice to, whether it be straight into another marathon, maybe not. Maybe it'll be a few shorter races, opportunity to maybe do a bit of travel with some running as well. But yeah, I think for me, the goals after or the latter half of the year are more travel related and a few things around holidays and that kind of thing, and haven't worried too much about that next goal just because I'm so
focused on this one.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's a good way to do it, really. Like you don't want to, I guess, overdo it as well, have so much on your plate at once. But how do you go through reflection, or do you reflect on the past or reflect on certain things that have happened and try and improve from those? Or how do you go through that, or do you just not worry about what things have happened?
Something I'm definitely trying to get better at.
Okay.
And I talked about appreciating how far you've come and the journey.
Yeah.
And that's something I've definitely tried to get better at, because I think as human beings, we naturally always want more and more. And we want that next great thing, and we want this and that. And I've tried to get a lot better at, again, just slowing down, appreciating how far you've come and also what you currently have. And yes, I checked today, I think the race is 113 days away. That'll be here before I know it. And I'm not stressing too much about, what the next phase of training has or anything like that, because I'm very much taking it session by session and appreciating where I am right now and not worrying too much about what's to come. I guess.
How do you deal with fears, or do you not worry about it? Because I think when it comes to business or when it comes to a marathon, you can think about all of the negatives and what goes wrong, but I think fear is quite an important thing. Like it can help you grow and get past things, but it can also help you be pulled back. So are there any things that you're anxious about when it comes to the marathon that you are trying to ignore, or do you not worry about those fears?
The fear's definitely there.
Yeah.
The fear's there of, I've put all this energy and effort into it. What if I am to fall short, or what if something isn't to come together on race day? There's definitely that fear. But as I said, I think all I can do is prepare as well as I can and control all the controllables and minimize any risk of not getting there. I think as well, if I get to the start line on that day and go, I've done everything in my power that I possibly could. And if I'm not to fall short, it's just not meant to be, and we'll get it the next time. And I think as well on that, there's always another race. Being able to run and being able to be healthy in itself is a massive gift. So understanding there will always be another opportunity and not stressing too much about, if I don't run in Gold Coast, I'll never, ever get a chance to run again. Hopefully I don't get injured too bad or anything, and that's the case. But I think just appreciating that there will be another opportunity. And in a business sense, if something's not to go right, I always believe it'll always work out.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great way to look at it, especially with the running. There's always other events. And Alex, we have something called the Vulnerability Corner here on the podcast. What I'm going to get you to do is pick number through 1 through 5, and it is going to be a random question. Take your time with them, so answer it however you really want, but picking a number through 1 through 5 whenever you're ready.
Number 3, it's my lucky number.
3, okay. So what is a personal quality of which you're most ashamed of, and why do you think that is?
I'd have to say overthinking.
Okay.
It's something I've always struggled with a little bit, and I'm not sure if it's tied in with being a perfectionist. I am a little bit of a perfectionist, but I think sometimes it can, it can be a blessing and a curse.
Okay.
I think overthinking every situation from, business point of view, relationship point of view, wanting to kind of know all the answers.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be a real burden.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm trying to get better at, but it can consume you sometimes. So that's something that, don't know if ashame's the right word, but definitely, I'm not sure what the exact word is, but that's probably a quality that I may dislike.
Okay. All right. What do you like then? Is there anything that you say you have somebody else, tell people about Alex? What do you think they would say? Like, what are some qualities that you like about yourself?
I think my drive and discipline is a really big one.
Yeah.
And I think that if I set my mind to something and say I'm going to do something, I do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good quality of mine that I appreciate. I think as well as that is just being a genuine person and being respectful.
Yeah.
I've always been raised to be respectful and genuine. And I think, anyone that's dealt with me would hopefully think the same.
Yeah.
So
sweet. Awesome. So where can people follow, the journey? Plug in whatever you need to for that, really.
Yeah. So the Instagram and TikTok's at breaking3 __.
Okay.
And at the moment I'm posting most days with my training. On rest days, sometimes I don't post all the time.
Yeah.
But training, essentially the training vlog, diary.
Okay.
So the sessions, bit of details about the sessions, what the day entails, as well as that, as I get a little bit deeper into the prep, touching on things such as nutrition, running shoe rotation, any tips and tricks that I've experienced along the way, any challenges so far, days in the life.
Yeah.
I think these are a lot of things that me getting into the training, I was really interested in and did a bit of research myself. So if there's any ways I'm able to touch on these things and add more clarity to people that are looking into a marathon, I think could be a very helpful tool.
Sweet. And that'll be in the show notes, everybody, so you can definitely check all of that out. Thank you a lot, Alex, for coming on, speaking to all that. I think, like I was saying in the beginning, there are probably a lot of people that are going to be listening into this and that are watching your journey and are going to be quite impressed, but also I think just draw inspiration, because I think whether it's your first marathon, your third one, or whatever, it's a big thing, really, training for a marathon. So quite impressive. But thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it was awesome.
All right. To all of my people out there that are driven and goal-oriented, you probably already know the importance of reflecting, about reflecting on your failures, about reflecting on your successes, and how that can shape your future. I am somebody that loves journaling. I have tested out and I've used numerous journals. I've probably spent hundreds of dollars on journals, finishing a journal and moving on to the next one. The issue is that some journals have aspects to it that I love, but then other things that I don't use and I don't think are effective. Another issue is a lot of journals are just the same activity every day for 50 days or whatever, and I don't feel like I'm getting much between day 1 and day 50. That is why I created my own journal called The Courage to Be Seen. This journal is a 20-day experience. My goal of this journal is to allow you to really reflect and look over your lifespan of stories and things that have shaped you to who you've become now. Reflecting on experiences, reflecting on your journey to help rewrite your future. This journal is coming out very soon. Be sure to follow The Courage to Be Seen on Instagram to stay updated when the journal release date is.